So, you want to create mockups, and you're looking for an all-round library that covers most of your needs, not having to buy individual expensive ensembles. So, what orchestral library should you actually get that is worth both your time and your money? Well, I think there's only one choice. Hi there, this is Sam with Second Tier Sound. Really nice to see you here. If you enjoy my content, please consider supporting me by liking, sharing, and commenting on my videos. And if you stick through this review, I actually have a nice bonus near the end of this video. First up, this is not a sponsored video, but an honest review. If I ever will be sponsored, you will be sure to know. So, there are actually quite a few decent orchestral libraries out there, fitting various budgets and tastes. Two of them is actually made by Spitfire Audio. And in my opinion, one is a little better than the other. I'm talking about Spitfire Symphonic Orchestra. So let's focus briefly on these two and why I think SSO is a slightly better choice than BBC. Just slightly though, as BBC is a great library too. These two libraries are very similar in terms of what you get, but SSO is more complete than the core version of BBC, while still being cheaper than BBC Pro, which I think is more like SSO in terms of features. SSO also uses the Contact engine, and this is obviously a preference as the Spitfire engine is very good and stable, but personally, I still just prefer how the Contact engine works. SSO also has a bigger sound than BBC, so that all depends on what you need, of course. SSO used to have different versions just like BBC does, but is now just one big package, which I think is a good thing, as you need all it has to offer. And it seems like the SSO are getting a little more love in terms of updates and features lately. In the last year, they have completely revamped the engine, added their updated performance patches to pretty much all instruments, changed the UI to a much better one, and even added solo string instruments. But enough talking, and let's listen to an example. I do want to stress that this is the sound out of the box, no reverbs added, and even if the sound is big, pay attention to the depth of the dynamics. This library is properly balanced. It all sounds really good together. The hall is perfect, no need to tweak each instrument to match the rest of the orchestra. It still has a few mic options that can change the sound, but this is a wet library. The room sound is baked in the samples. There is no dry option. Something to consider, but personally I prefer this. I also really like that there are not 300 mic options that Spitfire is known for. This makes the library taking a little less space on your hard drive, and frankly, I don't need all these mics anyway. I want to get to creativity, not mess with mics for the rest of the day. I respect those who want to do so, but personally, I think that beyond what SSO is offering here is mostly a waste of time, and also a reason to bloat the price. I also really like the size of the patches in terms of memory. It loads fast and doesn't kill your RAM, and it is easy to play. Quite recently, they also added the solo strings. They're not as complex as a dedicated solo strings library, but I still think they're remarkably good considering, and definitely is perfect for adding it to the orchestra, both as solo and as a first chair. One of the reasons this library is a joy to work with is their performance patches. It is not as good as the libraries made at performance samples, but still really welcome. This makes this library faster to write with than most other libraries on the market. Even though I enjoy other sample libraries that have higher quality, they often are a pain to work with because they either have a high latency due to heavy scripting and sample load, or they can be a lackluster to actually play with, as you can only have one articulation at a time. Spitfire performance patches aim to aid in this regard. These patches obviously don't cover all articulations, but they can do enough to get you started. And it isn't just legato and shorts, but you can also perform mercados and tenutos, as you can play more naturally the length of various shorts. Most other libraries are limited to only the short samples they have provided, but SSO also has different kinds of legatos built into the patches, and quite a few can even do runs really well. Obviously, SSO has all the articulations you need, and then some. But the performance patch isn't just a neat trick. It is actually a fantastic workflow, as you can quickly play the lines you want. And afterwards, you can always complement with articulations where needed. In fact, SSO has more articulations than most other libraries out there. It also has quite a few controls that changes the articulations. This is truly great, but I also find that there is no consistency between the patches. You often find that a certain articulation doesn't exist in other instruments. This can be a little frustrating, seeing a set of articulations in a solo instrument that is not matched at all in the ensemble or duo versions. But in most cases, you have what you need. I do appreciate all the options, but I think the instruments could be more streamlined in this regard. The library also comes with great ensemble patches. I often use them instead of the individual instruments, as they have a true ensemble sound that can be hard to create with individual instruments when the whole section is playing the same thing. I also use the ensembles as a sketch patch, as it is quicker writing, and then apply the notes to the various instruments in that section. I particularly like the strings and the woodwinds ensembles, and I tend to use the tutti the least. It also has a few curated patches that create a very specific sound that are great for a specific mood. Let's talk about the various sections. They're all very good, but I wanted to mention a few pros and cons. The woodwinds are actually outstanding. One of the better woodwinds sections on the market, particularly the sound. I do think Cinematic Studio woodwinds is slightly better, but only slightly. SSO has more instruments, variations, and one of the best core anglais out there. Woodwinds are hard to do right, and even though no library is perfect, this section is one of the highlights of SSO. I also really like the brass, as it is versatile and great sounding. Again, there are individual libraries who can do a better job, but in many cases, you don't need more than this. The percussion is also nice and sounds excellent, and you do get a lot. It covers all your bases well, but doesn't have any more exotic instruments. The instruments are a little tricky to find as most of them come in ensembles, but you can load them individually as well. My least favorite is actually the individual strings, not because its playability or massive amounts of articulations, but because of its sound. For the most, I think it works rather well, but I'm not a fan of the vibrato, which you can control, and I often lower it as I find it makes the strings sound thin and wavering too much. The various instruments also behave differently in terms of legatos, and only the violins can do runs really well. This doesn't mean I don't like it. I think the shorts are outstanding, the curated patches a great touch, and I pretty much get the result I'm after in the orchestra. what is my verdict? Well, first I want to mention some other library options, just to be fair. The ones you should have a look at are Museo, Nucleus by Audio Imperia, Hollywood Orchestra by East West, and Berlin Orchestra by Orchestral Tools, as they are all worth it to check out as well. Some of them have a much better price and some have really great sound, but in terms of a complete package including price, I still think SSO is the one to get. As I have covered most of the SSO library in this review already, there isn't much else to add. But to sum it up, this is a fantastic, great sounding, well-balanced, easy to work with library that I very much recommend. It is not perfect, but it has most of what you need. It sounds great and it is inspiring to work with. In terms of price, I find the library a little on the higher side, as it's not a new library, but it is still one of the better ones Spitfire has produced. But as I promised you, here is a little bonus for sticking through this video. If you use my link below and use the promo code SECONDTIER25, you will get a 25% discount on this particular library. This code will only work until April 21st and only for the 51st purchases, so don't wait if you're looking to get this library. If you happen to see this review after this time, Spitfire will have more sales eventually, I'm sure. But thank you for checking it out, as each purchase directly supports this channel. So, that's it for this time. I hope you enjoyed the review. Thanks again to Spitfire, who gave me access to the library quite a while ago, actually. Took me a while to get to the review. I'm busy, what can I say? I hope you continue to focus on your craft, and I'll see you next time. Take care.